Welcome. This is Barry Datlof, the Chief of Business Development and Commercialization for the U.S. Army Medical Research and Development Command. We're headquartered in Fort Detrick, and I'd like to thank ENRICH for this invitation to present on how to work with the U.S. Army's medical research and development groups. We have a phrase called assistive technology transfer, which I'll describe today, which really entails more than just traditional tech transfer in the development of new products and capabilities for the warfighter and for dual-use technologies. As you can see in this slide, we have a number of laboratories not only throughout the United States, but also throughout the world. The major areas of interest are basically anything that keeps the warfighter safe or helps them recover if they are wounded. We have particular expertise, as many of you are well aware, in combat casualty care, infectious disease, and clinical and rehabilitative medicine. MRDC is responsible for research in laboratories headquartered out of Fort Detrick, but also located in Silver Spring, Texas, Alabama, and other locations throughout the world. Our primary areas of interest are vaccines, therapeutics, diagnostics, devices, and medical IT. And this is an example of some of the products that have come out of the Medical Research and Development Command over the years. These are products that have been licensed to companies in order for them to sell them back to us. This actually creates a unique full cycle where we see a need, we fill a need, and because we can't compete with industry, we license it to a company in order for them to sell it back to the US government. But most importantly, those technologies can also support civilian populations and medical needs throughout the world. We view our world as an ecosystem of intellectual property, and in the old days, perhaps the emphasis might have been too much on patents. As you can see, our inventions have their roots in trademarks, copyrights, biological materials, as well as the patents that are traditional T2 activities. And the fruits of our labor really come from those inventions going out to commercial partners and academic partners throughout the world in collaborations called cooperative research and development agreements, or through commercial licensing to entities that can then field the product on behalf of the US government research labs. So technically, your companies could pop in at any stage of activity. If you have a product for the warfighter that's ready to field, we can assist you in getting to know the Defense Logistics Agency and how things are warehoused in order for the US government to be able to both purchase and provide to DoD. But typically, we find that CRADA's research and development relationships with companies, universities, even foreign governments, start at the SME level, the subject matter expert level. Companies always are in need of funding, and the US government, through DoD, have a tremendous number, and I've got a list available as well, of research grants and contracts that are available. Although these are traditionally heavily skewed towards small US businesses, we have collaborations with a tremendous number of third parties that have unique expertise, unique patient populations. Many of our clinical trials are actually done overseas for the obvious reason that certain pathogens are not endemic in the United States. In addition to funding some activities, we have the ability to create some, particularly for medical devices, prototypes, functional mock-ups. And these are very critical to us because they allow us to see the form, fit, and function in situ, as they'd say. It gives us the ability to help a commercial partner create a product that we know we would want to buy because it works in our hands. We also have a large clinical regulatory group that can assist companies, or for our own inventions, sometimes take an entire clinical regulatory path, be it FDA or pesticides or protective compounds, all the way through approval, but realize we still need you, the commercial partner, to help us bring the product back into the marketplace, into DoD. And then our office's bread and butter is what we would call traditional T2, and that's licensing intellectual property. That includes software, that includes biological materials, and of course, patents, copyrights, and trademarks. So the mechanisms I won't belabor because these are fairly standard in any government research lab. Off to the right are a list of biomedical funding activities that are available. And some of them are actually unique within the medical research realm. You'll see that there are ones that come and go. There are some that actually stick around forever because they're legislated, required by law. We view our job at MRDC to really bridge some of the valley of death. And this is an opportunity for companies to start out with public financing, friends and family, sometimes crowdsourcing. But then in order to really get over to the more angel and corporate capital, we've got to give some thumbs up, some indication to investors that this is something that the US government needs. This is something that the US government wants. And some of this is done through grants, some of this is done through licensing. But here in the Maryland region where we're located, we have a tremendous amount of assistance from not only the state of Maryland, but many sub-organizations, including particularly TEDCO, DefTech, and the University of Maryland system. So how would you approach MRDC with your company's technology? There are basically four ways to think about it. One is use an intermediary. Groups like ENRICH, and again, thank you, Blandine, for the invitation to present, are more knowledgeable about how we work and how to connect the dots. There are also subject matter experts who show up at conferences. We highly encourage you to, at things like the World Vaccine Conference, ASTMH, MHSRS, all those acronyms, talk to our scientific staff, because when a researcher is interested in what you're doing, the odds of it moving forward with an internal advocate are considerably higher. We also have partnership intermediaries, groups like TechLink, that can assist, because we ourselves have thousands of researchers. It's not always obvious who's doing what where, particularly if there's more than one group working on a project. You can come directly to our website at the Medical Tech Transfer Office. That's number 2. We also at MRDC have a new products and ideas page, and the link is provided there. That then gets forwarded to a SME in-house to vet. You can also seek grant funding and contract funding directly through grants.gov, through the BA, and I highly encourage you to search PubMed for biomedical, obviously, and match that up with the USPTO or WIPO data. That can actually give you a really good idea of who's innovating within our space. And if you're looking for a commercial relationship, they're always most ideal with folks who already have commercialization in their blood or DNA. So when you, let me actually go back. This is our office's technology intake form, and I wanted to mention that we don't want 25 pages. What we want to do is pass along the opportunity that you bring to us. And so the bottom line up front, the bluff, is really about an ask and an offer. Give us a very short summary of the technology. Make sure that we understand what are you interested in. But then really critically is the military relevance of this technology. And what stage of development is it at? If you notice the tech details and the IP, they're on page 2. What we're really looking for is how will this help the warfighter? And can you say it quickly so that we can pass it along and say, hey, this will stop somebody from bleeding to death. So you'll hear TRL levels, technology readiness levels. And it's critical that you describe your technology and what stage it's at. Traditionally, we have phase 1, 2, and 3 for pharmaceuticals, but a lot of things aren't drugs. Knowing if it's still being assessed, whether there's an actual technology, is it being manufactured, is it deployable, or is it already in the clinic elsewhere? I'd like to end on a concept called the Ipsy, and because this is a highly international crowd, I always am looking for partners interested in international intellectual property consortia formation in collaboration with the US government. The challenge we all have is that it's very expensive for a tech transfer office to file patents. If you're a small startup company, it's even harder for you to afford it, with typical patents costing hundreds of thousands of dollars for worldwide protection. Yet, licensing it or sub-licensing it to somebody else is so much aided by having a broad patent portfolio that protects worldwide. So what's the solution? One solution that we'd like to throw on the table for your consideration today is, what if we started consortia in countries that have a significant market for a given technology? And the consortium pays for the patent expenses in that country in exchange for exclusive marketing rights. And those rights may be by country or it may be by region. This is a diagram of how it would work for a US federal lab, where we get it and send it, we get an invention, we send it out to various Ipsys around the world, and we get thumbs up or thumbs no down for will they pay for the patent in their own country. Those consortia are voting with their pocket, not with just, do I like the technology? Is it a cool technology? That kind of thing. And then ultimately, we transact a license with the consortium with the right to sub-license. So the Ipsy consortium would go out and find locals, which basically extends our ability to interact with companies that can distribute this throughout the world. Critical to this is the fact that the small US business preference, or a US manufacturer, immediately upon licensing our technology doesn't have a huge patent bill, but instead actually has a huge distribution network. We think that the Ipsy has the potential to substantially enhance the intellectual property protection and reward. Who would be in an Ipsy? It's not for us to say, it's for us to suggest, because in different countries, there are different types of investor groups. There are different types of industry trade groups. Some countries have more of a government role. And so your country would have the potential to stand up an Ipsy in any fashion that it so desires. This is just a 7-step summarization of the Ipsy concept. If you're interested, do feel free to reach out and contact me directly. We've had any number of discussions to date, but we really need to move this faster and further as constraints on patent budgets continue to whittle away. I thank you for your time. My contact information is here. I always end on the same slide for all my presentations, and I apologize if some of these brands are not as global. But if you like branding and you can get all 26 of these, then that means you're probably a 20-something person who likes candy and still knows how to do their wash. Thank you all, and I'll now turn to questions.